You made it through Season 1. That matters. Season 1 was not written to answer questions. It was written to teach you how to notice. If you are here now, it means you noticed something. You noticed that time does not behave the way we assume. You noticed gaps that were not empty. You noticed patterns that were not coincidence. Season 2 begins where curiosity ends. From this point forward, nothing you hear is accidental. There are no isolated events. There are no harmless delays. Season 2 is not about discovery. It is about consequence. In Season 1, time was observed. In Season 2, time responds. Not with anger, not with judgment, with correction. Thank you for listening carefully enough to continue. The pattern is already forming. Season 2 begins. Now, Season 2, the turn. Episode 21. A list. No one remembered the first time they saw the list. That detail became important later. When asked, people described familiarity, not discovery. The list felt like something that had always been present, even when they were certain it had not. There was no moment of arrival, no memory of placement, only the sense that removing it would feel incorrect. The first confirmed sighting occurred in a municipal building that handled routine public work. Notices were pinned without order. Old announcements overlapped newer ones. Nothing was ever fully cleared. The list blended easily into this environment. It was a single sheet, plain paper, standard size, typed names, aligned in a narrow column. No heading, no explanation. People walked past it without slowing. Those who noticed it did so only because their movement stalled for a fraction of a second, as if something had registered without forming a thought. Later, when asked to describe the list, no one agreed on the paper quality. Some remembered it as thin, others as heavy. A few recalled creases that did not exist. Everyone remembered the names. There were many, more than seemed necessary. No one counted at first. The list remained undisturbed for several days. Then someone noticed the same names somewhere else. A different building, different part of the city, different context. This version was handwritten. The handwriting was careful, consistent, unfamiliar. The ink showed no signs of age. It did not bleed. It did not fade. The names matched. Same order. No additions. No omissions. No one said anything immediately. The resemblance felt coincidental. Names repeat. Cities contain overlaps. The mind looks for alignment even when none exists. But alignment continued. A third list appeared inside a restricted area. A place not accessible to the public. It was attached inside a locker door, folded once, placed with intention. Whoever found it did not remember opening the locker before that day, but was certain the list had not been there previously. They stood still longer than necessary. They did not know why. The list did not feel intrusive. It felt tolerated. When the three instances were compared, the differences were obvious. Different materials, different presentation, different locations. Only the names were fixed. Only the order refused to change. Someone finally counted. There were 47 names. That number remained constant for several days. Then it did not. The change was not immediately noticed. A person who had passed the list every morning for a week stopped without intending to. Their eyes moved down the column more slowly than usual. The count reached 48. They counted again. The new name was not appended at the bottom. It had appeared in the middle. Nothing else shifted to make room. Spacing adjusted itself naturally, as if the list had always accommodated one more. The person felt a brief pressure in their chest. Not fear. Something closer to recognition. They stepped away before finishing the thought. Later that day, the same name appeared on a list in another location. Same position. Same spacing. That evening, one name was circled. The circle was precise. Not hurried. Not decorative. The ink pressed deeply into the paper. Enough to leave an impression on the surface beneath it. No one saw the marking occur. The circled name belonged to someone who had not noticed the list. They passed it daily. They remembered seeing paper. They did not remember reading it. The next morning, they arrived late to work despite leaving at the correct time. Traffic patterns matched the previous day. Signals behaved normally. No delays were reported. They checked their phone repeatedly. Time appeared accurate. They dismissed the incident. By midday, they repeated a conversation they were certain had already occurred. The other person responded as if hearing it for the first time. There was no sign of confusion or acknowledgement. The repetition ended naturally. It did not feel wrong. That night, the person woke twice at the same minute. Both times, the room was quiet. Both times, they felt as if something had already happened that they had missed. They slept again without difficulty. The following day, their name was crossed out. The line was heavy, uneven at the edges, not careless, final. No announcement accompanied the change. No reaction followed. The person continued their routine. They spoke to colleagues. They answered messages. They attended scheduled tasks. Something else changed. People stopped retaining interactions with them. Not intentionally. A conversation would begin and trail off. A contact would break too early. Questions would go unanswered not out of avoidance, but omission. The person noticed this gradually. They compensated by speaking more clearly. This made no difference. Within days, their presence became thin. Not absent, unstable. Their name remained crossed out. No further marks were added. In another location, a second name was circled. Then another. The intervals between markings shortened. Those whose names were circled began experiencing similar disruptions. Not identical, personal. One experienced repeated sounds with no source. Another noticed that written notes corrected themselves after being left unattended. A third found that decisions felt resolved before being made. None of them connected these events to the list. Those who did notice the list began paying closer attention to it. This attention did not go unnoticed. A person recognized their own name. It was not circled. They read the surrounding names first. They checked the spacing. They verified the order. Only then did they allow themselves to see it. Their name, printed cleanly, unmarked. They felt relief they could not justify. They returned the next day. The circle had appeared. It enclosed the name completely. The ink was darker than before, pressed harder. They stood longer than necessary. No one commented. They did not speak about it. That night, a moment repeated. Only a moment. A hand reaching for a door handle. The grip loosened. The hand returned. The motion repeated. Exactly. No time was lost. No time was gained. The moment simply occurred twice. The person stepped away. They did not test it again. The following day, the list was gone. The board was empty. Pins remained in place. The absence was noticeable. People commented briefly. Someone assumed maintenance had cleared it. Someone else disagreed. The discussion ended without conclusion. 2 days later, the list returned. Different board. Same building. Same order. Same circles. The persistence was quiet. It did not insist. It waited. Those who tried to remove it again failed. Not because removal was impossible, but because removal did not last. The list did not react immediately. It allowed the action, then corrected it. No pattern of resistance could be established. The list did not oppose behavior. It adjusted around it. By the end of the week, 6 names were circled. 1 remained crossed out. The rest were untouched. No one knew what came next. The list did. After the 6th name was circled, the list stopped changing for a while. That pause unsettled the few who were watching. They did not discuss it openly. No one gathered. No messages were exchanged. Awareness spread in isolation. Each person assumed they were the only one noticing, which kept attention fragmented. The list remained present in multiple locations. It did not multiply endlessly. It did not spread aggressively. It maintained a manageable presence. Enough to be seen. Enough to be ignored. Those whose names were circled began noticing timing discrepancies that were difficult to describe. Not delays. Not skips. Alignment errors. They arrived at places at moments that felt premature. Conversations ended just before they began. Opportunities dissolved before being fully recognized. It was not misfortune. It was misplacement. One individual attempted to describe it as being slightly ahead of where the world expected them to be. Another described the opposite. Neither explanation held. What they shared was the sense that their participation no longer matched the surrounding rhythm. They adapted without coordination. Some slowed themselves deliberately. Others rushed. Some avoided decisions. Others made them impulsively. None of these adjustments restored consistency. The list did not react to strategy. It reacted to fixation. One person whose name was circled returned repeatedly to the same list location. They did not touch it. They stood nearby watching people pass. They observed who slowed, who glanced, who never noticed. They noticed something else. People who slowed often appeared elsewhere on the list within days. The observer stopped returning. Their name remained circled. In a different location, the crossed-out name began drawing attention. People struggled to recall details about the person it belonged to. Not facts, impressions. They remembered working with them. They remembered conversations. They could not recall tone, posture, or expression. The memories lacked texture. This absence spread unevenly. Some remembered more than others. Some remembered nothing beyond a name. The crossed-out individual noticed the change last. They began repeating stories without realizing it. Not verbatim, structurally. The same sequence of events told as if new, regardless of audience. Listeners did not correct them. They simply disengaged. The person interpreted this as disinterest. They spoke less. This did not improve retention. Eventually, the person stopped appearing on the lists altogether. Not removed, absent. The space remained. The line through the name was still visible where the list appeared elsewhere, but the person no longer encountered it. They were not aware of this change. They continued living. They did not notice when others stopped noticing them. A seventh name was circled, then an eighth. The circles grew darker, not thicker, darker, as if applied repeatedly in the same place. The pressure of the pen increased with each pass. One individual noticed that the circles did not all appear at once. They accumulated. Each list instance showed a slightly darker version than the last. This layering suggested repetition. Someone had marked the same names again and again, or something had. One circled individual began experiencing short intervals of silence. Not absence of sound, absence of response. They spoke. The words landed. No acknowledgement followed. No reaction. No continuation. After a pause, interaction resumed normally, as if the silence had not occurred. They began waiting through these pauses without comment. The silences shortened. Their name remained circled. Another person experienced a different distortion. Objects remained where they placed them, but their significance shifted. A phone on a table felt unfamiliar. A personal item felt misplaced despite being correct. This produced hesitation. Hesitation produced repetition. A moment occurred twice, then once more. The person stopped touching unfamiliar objects. Their environment stabilized slightly. Their circle did not fade. A group formed briefly, not intentionally. 3 people recognized each other from separate list locations. They did not speak at first. They acknowledged recognition with prolonged eye contact. Later, they spoke quietly. They compared observations cautiously. The act of comparison accelerated marking. 2 additional names were circled within 48 hours. One of the group noticed their circle had thickened. They did not meet again. The list did not discourage gathering. It simply responded to it. By the time 12 names were circled, patterns became harder to ignore. Circled individuals experienced personal distortions. Crossed-out individuals experienced social erosion. Unmarked individuals experienced nothing. The list did not escalate uniformly. It applied pressure where pressure already existed. One person attempted to test a theory. They noticed their name unmarked near the bottom of the list. They began paying deliberate attention to irregularities. They documented them mentally. They resisted speaking about them. Their name moved up. Not immediately, gradually. Spacing adjusted around it. The movement was subtle enough to be doubted. They returned the next day. Their name was higher, still unmarked. They stopped paying attention. Within days, their name returned to its original position. The list did not punish curiosity. It responded to persistence. One circled individual attempted to ignore the list entirely. They avoided locations where it appeared. They redirected routines. They stopped looking. For several days, nothing changed. Then repetition occurred elsewhere, in places not previously affected. A gesture repeated. A sound doubled. A sentence restarted. Avoidance did not prevent interaction. It relocated it. The person resumed acknowledging irregularities internally. The repetitions decreased. The list did not fade, but it did not escalate. A final marking appeared late. It was not a circle. It was a double line beneath the name. Clean, even, deliberate. No one recognized this marking. The name belonged to someone who had not been discussed. They had not noticed the list. They had not experienced anomalies. They had not spoken to anyone about patterns. Their behavior was stable. Their attention was diffuse. They did not linger on inconsistencies. They adapted instinctively. The underline suggested something else. Not correction. Not removal. Priority. Within days, a second underline appeared beneath another name. Then a third. The underlined names did not experience disruption. They experienced clarity. Decisions felt resolved before consideration. Timing aligned effortlessly. Interactions flowed without friction. They did not notice this as abnormal. They assumed competence. The list now contained 4 types of names: unmarked, circled, crossed out, underlined. No legend explained the distinction. No key was provided. The meaning remained implicit. Those who noticed the full structure felt a pressure that did not resolve. The list was not reacting randomly. It was sorting. The crossed-out individual disappeared from all list instances shortly thereafter. No one commented. No announcement followed. The gap remained. By the end of the observation period, 14 names were circled. 2 were crossed out. 3 were underlined. The rest remained unchanged. The list did not complete its work. Paused. The order remained fixed. The next movement did not occur. Not yet. Those who were watching understood one thing without speaking it. The list was not finished. It was waiting.